Hi everyone, #1 Marmaduke fan here, and I just finished reading Jawbreakers, Lost Souls, and Jawbreakers Book 1 and 2 in one sitting. Always a good sign. It was a literal page turner. I've got my super duper expensive mic all set up so we can have okay sound quality. I promised to review this months ago. Late. But since I promised I would review this book, it's only fitting for this to be an iPhone video to honor your boy Boomer Zach, the inspiration for this channel and my reintroduction into the world of comics and indie comics. So it's day one. It came. I read it all in one sitting. Diversity in Comics has requested. He's not Diversity in Comics anymore. He's just your boy Zach. He's Comics Matter with your boy Zach now. But he has requested critique, feedback. So here you go. This is my brutally honest, long-promised review and critique of Jawbreakers with lots. Look at all that. This is going to be exciting. All right, I marked that so I can come back and check names if I need to. So, observation number one, Zach has a good ability for writing action. He has a feel for the swift movement, keeping interesting things happening. Malin has a nice... I think he likes to elongate things. He elongates the human figure. He likes to do big, long shapes, like those lines going all the way down. And these work together to keep things moving at a nice, brisk pace. I also think that Silkworm and Cuffs, their back and forth is great. I think that Zach deliberately wanted to put two people kind of more in the foreground, and then the other three would be a bit more supporting characters in this role, and maybe in another story they get fleshed out a little bit more. So Cuffs and Silkworm seem to take the center stage for most of the conversations, and I like their back and forth. I like how, there are some jokes at each other's expense. It feels like a real, military buddy comedy kind of thing going. Where's my next paper clip? There it is, the pink one. For Sashi, what I really appreciate about Sashi is an image of her was used to advertise the Indiegogo campaign, and people were really interested in her. They really liked her, and so Maya responded to this by giving her a larger role in the story, and it's a very natural role. It's actually quite beautiful, and I started getting excited when I realized the point of the title, Lost Souls, and that was actually a theme of the story, because I just heard it, okay, Lost Souls, it sounds cool, but then when you started seeing what the Lost Souls were, oh, it's just so touching and sweet, and Sashi's kind of a lost soul, so it's interesting that she wasn't originally part of the story because she fits so well into it. Kind of the idea is like the giant, not King Kong gorilla literally has a lost soul. It's traveling for... Spoiler. This is a spoiler review. Spoiler. All right? Have you gone and read Jawbreakers? Good. The giant gorilla has lost its soul and it's traveling from dimension to dimension looking for it. In relation to that, Zashi and Silkworm both kind of feel like lost souls because they have these pasts to them. Silkworm especially, he has a mixed up past, and it's sort of like he's trying to make the best of it in spite of having done like this evil stuff in his past. I'm going to have to talk a little bit about conveyance and communicating things to people who are not familiar with the universe. So Zach is kind of notoriously OCD. I think that's why he is so good at spotting problems in comics. But I think he still suffers occasionally from someone who's not a fan of his work or not closely following what he's doing, where they'd be a little left in the dark, whereas people who are him or who have been closely following him can kind of like fill in the gaps in our brain. So I know a little bit about Silkworm's backstory just from hearing Zach talk about it in videos. An example of that would be when the Jawbreakers are driving along and then the gorilla shows up and they get flown off. Now, Meyer adds, we were driving on top of them, which was kind of a save because without that, it wouldn't make sense how they got up here. It would look like they were just suddenly flying in the air next to him. So this raises some questions. Why is there grass growing on the gorilla? Has he been sleeping there for 50 years? Was he in a big lake? If he was in a big lake, why isn't he dripping a whole bunch of water? Were there trees? What happened to all the stuff that was growing on him? So that's a conveyance issue where I think Malin drew the gorilla first to advertise the book, right? And then it wasn't 100% clear somewhere along the lines that they were driving on top of the gorilla, and then Zach kind of made it up here in the box. Even just something like, trees and water dripping off the gorilla, it'd make more sense to me that, oh, they were on top of the gorilla, and then he stood up, and then they ended up there like little teeny tiny dots. That was cool. I really love the scale. Like, it's 5 times bigger than King Kong, which is really kind of dope. And then it's a fun, superheroes versus giant gorilla. And there's like some fun moments where like the eyeball gets knocked out. Oh, I marked this because this is another. My theme for this is Jawbreakers is a great distillation of the storytelling ideas that Zach has been talking about on his channel for a year. And these are powerful ideas because these are Zach likes simple adventure stories with big strong guys, beautiful ladies, scary monsters, and bad guys, and the good guys fight the bad guys, but they have heart. They are those simple, sweet stories, but they have some. How do you explain it? They're like a soap opera in that they can convey a deeper sense of emotion in the midst of kind of like the soap opera super heroic. So one thing I like about that is the Jawbreakers mess up. They fight the giant gorilla and they don't do so hot. They kind of they get smushed by the giant eyeball. Cuffs is a little embarrassed at their performance. There's a yeah boy, because of course there is. That's kind of their version of the fastball special. All right. For romance, it's just a very sweet, very straightforward romance. Maybe this is kind of where it shows that Zashi was given a bigger role after the initial planning phase, because it is kind of sweet and romantic, but it does kind of just sort of, oh, okay, they're romantically attached. Boom, right? Right? I really like Sashi, and I would like to see her fleshed out more if possible. I don't know, backstories. I can't talk about that right now. We'll talk more about Sashi as we go. Zach also favors, I think, a lot of bringing in interesting kind of fantastical characters out of left field. And I like that because in a comic book, in a superhero spectacular universe, part of the fun is you never quite know what's going to come out of left field. So he brings in this magic shaman, and it turns out this magic shaman isn't everything he appears to be. He's actually kind of like a cell phone technology nerd who just dresses as a shaman, is like his night gig or something. So what's fun about that is it's bringing in some fun fantastical elements without being, it's so random, it's so stupid, comic books are so silly, am I right? He is bringing in kind of random, unusual, bizarre things in a way that it's fun. It kind of adds to the flavor of the world, and then he wraps up his plot and then he keeps moving, and he doesn't like put a lampshade on it and say, look how stupid this is, right? So I appreciate seeing fantasy stories where fantastical things appear out of nowhere. So the shaman reveals the plot twist that the gorilla has lost his soul and is like traveling from world to world seeking it. Now, I mark this because this is a great little emotional moment where it's revealed that Sashi is a servant of the bad guy and has betrayed them, and so she feels bad about that and runs away. Oh, heart wrench! Play the sad music. But I like that she is a character. She feels emotion. She shows this emotion in her face. Excellent. Why did I mark this? Okay, I'm gonna try to explain what's going on here and see if I can remember what my point was. So the gorilla is about to go through the portal to locate its lost soul. Sashi approaches the bad guy, and there's this really cool thing where the gorilla makes a heroic sacrifice too, right? So now we start feeling emotionally attached to the gorilla, and there's this really dope fight scene where he swings this giant pipe, and there's tiny little people flying everywhere. So I don't know if Sashi dies or not. And this is maybe another aspect where Sashi getting added later as a character seems to be showing, where this feels like this should be a big moment. This feels like this should be a Gwen Stacy dying moment where she looks like she gets her neck snapped, right? And so since we've been treating her as this emotional character, I'd like to see that kind of be given the weight I think it deserves. So this is given visual weight because it's a big dynamic turning point in the battle where the gorilla, fights a whole army. I think Sashi's story deserved to have a bit more prominence in this, since she kind of became the sort of the emotional core of this story. So I am 100% rooting for a redemption for Sashi. I know I'm a hypocrite because I think death in comics needs to be permanent and matter, but she could come back from that. There was a crack, so maybe she's dreadfully injured. Maybe she's paralyzed, but I don't want her to be dead yet. Bring back Sashi, Zach. I'm gonna write letters to you crying about Sashi. Oh man. And so after that, then it goes back to like the big old fight trying to get the gorilla through the giant portal, but the portal closed and the gorilla won't be able to get his soul back. Dun, da, da. So it's sad. There are emotional stakes, and it's not a big, super duper happy sappy ending. But you still get the idea that he's not going to give up, and he's going to keep searching. And Silkworm has this moment where he starts to kind of like see himself in the gorilla because he feels like a lost soul. So I think that Zach does a good job of bringing this emotional idea of kind of broken characters, of sad characters, of characters with regret, while also still having evil bad guys that the good guys get to fight. I think he does a good job balancing his serious elements with his, fun, like 1990s pouch jokes elements. And this too. So here I find out, wait, so they didn't go get Sashi? They toast her as someone who died like a Jawbreaker? Have they confirmed she's dead? Why don't they just go check out the body and Cuffs can have like an emotional moment where he realizes she's dead and then he says, she's dead! And we say, okay, she's dead. Is she dead, Zach? I don't know! Bring back Sashi, for goodness sakes. Okay, Jawbreakers Book 1 was previously funded as a Kickstarter project, drawn and written by Richard Meyer. It's famously been roasted by Nurkish, and this version of it has been kind of redrawn almost from ground up. It's sort of like a revamp by Simon Bennett. And I think Simon Bennett has really taken Meyer's solid kind of fun 90s underdrawing and given it a lot more complexity and sympathy. So as redone, I think this is a really solid action story. Lots of fighting, blowing up the bad guys. Now what did I mark here? Okay, the evil ninja clan. So there's this interesting twisteroo where every time Knife Hand uses his abilities, then his ninja clan will show up and try to enslave him and capture him. So it's kind of like this cool catch-22 where he's got this amazing superpower they can use, but if he uses too much of it, then they show up to get him. I'm not really clear how much of his power he gets to use. Like, is it anytime he slashes something, they show up? Is it when he, like, super-duper slashes something that they show up? Because they didn't show up in Lost Souls when he was doing a lot of super-duper slashing, so I'm guessing Lost Souls happens after this. I don't know. Maybe a little timeline would help to keep in place. Like, I forgot whether Lost Souls was a prequel or a sequel. And this is kind of like a pro and a con. Meyer does a good job not bogging me down with too much, technobabble about their powers and the world. But I wouldn't mind having like a balloon box where someone says, what's the deal with the ninjas? And they explain they show up when Knife Hand uses 50% of his power or 75% of his power, right? Give me a dumb moment for dummies like me to understand, okay, he can use a little of his power, but not all of it, or can he not use any of his power? Once again, so there's this great back and forth between Silkworm and Cuffs, which kind of highlights Cuffs' character, that he affects sort of like a blaxploitation character as sort of his outer shell, but really he's a nerd. And they have this like a kind of emotional, important question where are they going to go back to New York and save it from the super evil bad guy? Now, I didn't mark this off, but Autumn Jade is going to be important. So this is my big quibble where I'm not quite sure what's going on. So Autumn Jade, why did I mark this? Where is it? I've got to find where. There we go. All right, so Devil Dog shows up and punches Silkworm because he was a jerk to Autumn. And then he says, don't act like you didn't deserve that. Talking to your daughter like that. You deserve worse. She's not my... Shut up. It's got to be killing you. She looks just like her. So I read this and I thought, okay, Autumn doesn't look... Autumn isn't his daughter because he says she's not my, and when Devil Dog says she looks just like her, that means Autumn looks like his daughter. So Autumn isn't his daughter, but she looks like him. And it's sort of like it's in his head that she's like his daughter, and he can't get that out of his head, but she's really not his daughter. Then later, she comes up and says, I'm your daughter. She's daughter or not? So I kind of like dimly remembered a YouTube video where Zach talked about this and talked about Silkworm's backstory. He's a father who... The basic idea of him is, what if like Peter Parker went evil and became a murderer? And so Silkworm was a hero. He became an evil person, for the good reason of wanting to protect his family. He realized he had become an evil person, and he left his family. And so this regret is kind of like bogging him down for the rest of his life because he cut himself out of that family because he was becoming a darker and darker soul. He's a really jerk character who's just trying to hold it together and be as good a person as he can. Not even that much. He's just trying to make money and like make ends meet. I didn't think this was conveyed well at all. I still don't know if Autumn is his daughter or not, or if she just looks like his daughter. I need a dumb moment where he says, she is my daughter. Okay, she is my daughter, but I didn't raise her, so I don't think of her like my daughter. Shut up, she is your daughter. It's the her. Like, is the her referring to his wife or the her referring to his daughter? Conveyance. Make it so the idiot who didn't watch your channel and doesn't know what's going on can know what's going on. Typo time! I'm going back, but I thought you might try to stop me. We're never going to see other again. Hire me, Zach. Hire me. I will. You think you're OCD? I'm OCD. I will out OCD you on catching that stuff. All right. So the team gets together and they're gonna go fight the evil God thing. I every time I see it, so it's God King with a 0 and a 1, so I pronounce it God King. Oh, I love this. So the artist Kelsey Shannon, previously of Batman Adventures. It's a really... Jawbreakers book 2 has a really fun kind of cartoon style vibe to it. Oh, by the way, spoilers in case I didn't warn you before. And what I really love that Shannon did is, because Silkworm kind of has this ugliness to his soul, Shannon gave him this real ugliness to like his face. Even his hair looks kind of greasy. So she sort of visually captured this idea of Silkworm, that he's got a lot of regrets, he's got a lot of baggage, and he's kind of a rough guy to be around generally, even though he's a good leader. So props to Shannon for capturing that. This was a very fun book. Meyer also does a good job kind of like catching us up to speed with like the dialogue explaining, oh no, we're fighting the super god thing. He turned our guns to roses. Oh, was that on purpose, Zach? Guns and roses? And anyway, once again, I'm kind of there's a lot that Zach can improve on, I think, on emphasizing important moments. So there's this important moment where Devil Dog makes a blunder and he's carefully moving and he steps on a mine because he wasn't prepared for, like, he understands how to search for mines, but he doesn't understand like psychic mines. It's sort of like he's a little bit too behind the times. And there's this emotional moment where, he tells Silkworm, throw my body, use me to get rid of more mines. And Silkworm, because he's kind of a nasty guy, he's hurt by it, but he'll do it. If you tell him on the battlefield, kill me, leave me behind, and go save yourself, he'll actually do it, right? So my question about this is Devil Dog dead? If Devil Dog is dead, then I think this is a good moment for underscoring Silkworm's kind of ugliness, the ugliness of the character. But, and Silkworm does kind of like, Devil Dog does get his moment where he kind of like roasts the guy and tells him to go on and, quick cry about it, pussy. He's using sort of like military brusqueness to tell Silkworm that he needs to carry on for him, because this used to be Devil Dog's team and now Silkworm needs to run it, so he can't be an emotional... Facts don't care about your feelings, Silkworms. It's that kind of a moment for Silkworm. But if this is really Devil Dog's death, then even... I don't know, I think we needed to see more of Devil Dog. We needed to understand his psychology. We need to understand like his relationship to Silkworm to feel the emotional moment of this death. In this, it's sort of like, oh, boom, he's dead, but we're moving on, right? Death needs, if it's going to be a real death, and it's going to be a permanent death, now maybe there'll be a thing where Goat King erases everything, and everyone's back, the Jawbreakers are back. But if it's a real death, then we need to experience that. We need to understand why it happened. We need to kind of like facilitate. We don't need... Zach says he hates when, like the character looks at the camera and says, no! So you don't need that, but I do think you need like a moment to reflect on he's dead. And then the reader accepts that, and then we say, okay, let's move on. This is a recurring theme. 20 minutes, we got to wrap this up. So, Knife Hand cuts the thing, and then the ninjas show up, right? And then they blow up. This needed a panel to show that happening. Ninjas come out of portal, ninjas are dead. I needed to see the ninjas land on the mines and blow up. It's a good idea. They need to get rid of the mines, so they have Knife Hand use his power so the ninjas show up, and the ninjas all land on the landmines. But this is kind of unintentionally hilarious. Dun, 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 dun. I needed to see that. That's probably something that needed to be conveyed during like the layout process, or maybe underscored. We need to see the ninjas blowing up because it's important. Not only is it important to understand what's going on, it's also an important moment for Knife Hand because these people have been hounding him and trying to force him into slavery, and now they're dead. He's free. So you'd think that if this is the moment where Knife Hand is freed from like these evil ninjas who've been hunting him forever, you'd think we'd at least get a panel to kind of see that culminate. This is like the culmination of a subplot in Knife Hand's life story. And then Knife Hand starts talking and says, I don't need to follow my vow of silence anymore. He kind of reveals he's a jerk. And oh, what do you know? Okay, we have this recurring problem again of conveyance. So he says some mean things to Cuffs. That's actually kind of cool because he's sort of cutting deep, but because he has that cutting power. And so he says some mean things to Cuffs that kind of hit home, and then Hell Priest gets mad. Why is Hell Priest mad if he said the mean things to Cuffs? And then he says, I'll kill him. And what I like about this is this sort of establishes that they have different powers, and some of them are clearly tougher than others. Like Hell Priest is a blind, probably like Irish boxer, and Knife Hand is like this literal martial arts super genius. So when Silkworm says, you're a blind boxer, he's a superpowered ninja, he'll kill you. I never back down from a fight yet. You make me laugh. And then it cuts right to this. What happened? Hell Priest is running at him. He's talking. He's still talking. This Hell Priest is still running at him. Did he knock him down? Did he, beat him up? Did Hell Priest stop running? So maybe this would have been the thing, if he had, a bloody nose in the next panel, we'd put 2 and 2 together that, oh, okay, he knocked him down. It doesn't make sense to me that Hell Priest would just, stop mid-track after saying, I've never backed down from a fight yet. Conveyance. I need to visually see what happened to understand. Another, I kind of love it, I kind of hate it, is Zach has used his love of Marvel Comics and kind of mashed that up with G.I. Joe, mashed that up with all these different things to kind of make his own superhero universe. So, yeah, there's a G.I. Joe military vibe going, but Cuffs is even Zach has talked about this, Cuffs is kind of a Luke Cage, Silkworm's kind of a Spider-Man, Hell Priest is kind of a Daredevil, Knife Hand is kind of an Iron Fist, and Devil Dog is kind of a Captain America. I think that he did a really good job of kind of obscuring this in the Jawbreakers themselves, where it's a little bit of their powers, maybe it's a little bit of their personalities, but they're all kind of mixed up. Things are twisterooed and changed around to make them their own characters. For others, it's a little bit too on the nose. So Chalk is made of limestone. He is a white guy with kind of African-American features who was a crime boss. Like Tombstone. Limestone, Tombstone, Chalk. Okay. Chalk is kind of a cool name for a villain, but he's a little bit too much of a dead ringer for Tombstone. They see Dr. Man, and Dr. Man has a scary black mask on. He was an evil super genius, like Dr. Doom. And Dr. Doom, he would hunt the family of 4 people who are kind of elementally coded to water, earth, fire, and air, kind of like the Fantastic Four. And the super family even had some super name, but I forgot what their super name is. They're the Fantastic Four, and their kid is now the evil God King, kind of like Franklin Richards. So what I think that Zach needs to do is he needs to mix in a lot more, twisteroos into his characters that are loosely inspired by the Marvel universe. So if you're going to have a Dr. Doomy kind of guy, I don't know, mix in a little bit more John Carter of Mars in there. If you're going to have a fantastic-y family of 4, in space with a super genius and a blonde mom, mix something in. You got to mix it up. I don't want to just look at them and say Fantastic Four. I want to instantly look at them and see something different. So Autumn shows up and she looks like she's got Devil Dog's mask on. Okay. Oh, I love this panel because the color is so great. I love the colors for this. Very simple, very straightforward colors. It's bright, it's fun, it's exciting. It's what comics should be. I love the action sequences where he comes up with something like they drop through the building and then Silkworm sends down the cushion and Cuffs catches it and that cushion's their fall. That's some great like pacing stuff. It's not just like action scene of like action-y, action super shot stuff. It's a thing that makes sense where you follow. Okay, this might be it. Zach understands how to pace an action scene and have me understand what's going on. Falling through building, cushions going down, landing, cushions below them, he catches it. That makes sense. Zach needs to bring that kind of step-by-step thinking into some of the talky scenes and some of the dialogue-heavy scenes, so we don't have moments like earlier where I don't know if Devil Dog or I don't know if Knife Hand beat up Hell Priest or not. We got another character here who is Psycho Surgeon because Doctor Strange is a surgeon. Mix it up, Zach. Mix it up. If you don't want to be sued, mix it up. There's some cool twisteroos with like some of the side characters that I dig, and I just love this art style. And this was another thing where I think that Zach did a good job like obscuring something. So Psycho Surgeon gets killed and then he kind of disappears, and Silkworm explains that his energy dissipated. Right, okay, yeah. Psycho Surgeon wasn't that important a character. You know, he kind of... this was a good covering of that, I think. But again, we should probably see Psycho Surgeon dissipate because that's a cool thing. Some hero they know is dying forever and he's going to be gone. Let's see his heroic death. This would be a good way of fleshing out some of these additional characters who are clearly part of this universe. And even if this is our introduction to them, if they're going to die, we should feel like, oh, this was the death of a hero. We should witness this monumental event. And then there's a great little old twisteroo at the end setting up Volume 3. I think that it would help Zach to make use of flashbacks and flash sideways to help us keep straight some of the additional characters in his universe. That way, if like Psycho Surgeon shows up, we could see like a flashback to, I don't know, Psycho Surgeon as a young hero before the Millennials took over. If these guys show up and they say, we are here to get revenge on so-and-so, on Bloghole, you know, show us a little like one-panel flashback to Bloghole's gruesome death so we know who Bloghole is. Bloghole. Anyway, and I already talked about the art in my other video where I did unboxing. I really appreciate how Meyer, you know, like celebrates fan art. I appreciate how he thanks his fans, and I think what this book does is it shows that Meyer's ideas about superhero storytelling matter. This era of comics wasn't just an accident. It wasn't just like a cancer sore to be excised from comics. The 80s and 90s really defined, I think, the fantastical superhero story. It's the reason we have so many Marvel movies today, and he deliberately and consciously brings in some of these themes into his work, including the fun, dumb superheroes versus bad guys and giant monsters fantasy stuff. And I am excited to see more from Richard C. Meyer. I'm excited to see the conclusion. You know, no book 3, so I got A New Hope and an Empire Strikes Back. I'm looking forward to Return of the Jedi of the Jawbreakers story. I am interested to see more of the Jawbreakers universe, but main critiques, you got to mix up the Marvel inspiration more, and number 2, you've got to convey subtext to the audience more. Is that the right word for it? Subtext is when, you know, there's something kind of like layered underneath it. You have to communicate basic like plot points to the audience more so that they don't need to watch the YouTube channel to get a feel for who Silkworm is. Very fun thing. I read it in one sitting. A very enjoyable comic on its own merits. And I can now say I will be supporting and buying Jawbreakers as a Jawbreakers fan, not just because I like the channel and not just because I wanted to say bleepity bleep to the people who tried to shut him out of the comics industry. Fun book. I hope I guess you can only get it used now. You missed your chance if you missed the Indiegogo. But keep an eye out for more Jawbreakers material. Maybe This is an Indiegogo exclusive. This one, so this cover may never be reprinted again, but it could be included in collected editions in the future down the road. So keep an eye out for more Jawbreakers related material, and I will definitely be keeping an eye out for more projects. With that, I'm number one Marmaduke fan. I love you guys. I'll catch you later. Zoobadoo doobadoo doobadoo doo. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Bow, 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 bow. Nee, 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 nee.